Yeah, through booms, we see innovation because it's like a gold rush, right? There's a process that goes along with it. It's not just, everybody's just trying to do things all at the same time. Where there has to be rules and workflows in place. Starting the community is the hardest part for any of these, like all these new TCGs are coming out. And trying to get a core group of people, I call them the core four.
Welcome to Behind the Cardboard, where I talk with hobby shop owners, card store owners, game shop owners, and operators, see how their businesses and shops really run behind the cardboard. I'm joined here today by Mason, who you may know from YouTube or other places. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mason, and just in case somebody hasn't heard of you.
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi Chase. How we doing? Mason here. I own two game stores in Louisville, Kentucky. Also own and run CNAGames.com, which is an online website that we have all of our inventory flowing through. Do a lot with TCG Player, kind of make content about TCG Player and all the things that kind of optimizations and things that I've found works best for me. And yeah, do YouTube content about what it's like to own LGS, uh, distribution, and kind of like the comings and goings from all the games right now. And anything else I just feel like talking about really is really what it comes down to. But yeah, that's the crux of my content. And you know, uh, Chase, I appreciate you reaching out and having me on here. This is awesome.
I appreciate you agreeing to be on here. So thanks so much for being on episode 3 of this nascent podcast, hopefully. So the first question I like to start off with any new guest on the show is how did you get into hobby stuff to begin with, and how did that progress into you doing it as a business rather than just a consumer of said hobby?
Yeah, I mean, probably like most people our age, we had it all grown up, and it was kind of a big thing back in the day, growing up with it. And then when I got married, I inherited some kids. We had a great time playing the game, and they kind of looked through my old stuff, and they ran their course with it. Nationals is up here in Indianapolis, which is just an hour and a half away. So we had a great time going up to the Nationals one year. That was awesome. And then they never really moved on to other things and kind of fell out of the game. So I was like, okay, I have all these cards. What do I do with these things? Surely I can get my money back out of them somehow. And started selling them on eBay and like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty cool little way of making some extra money, maybe. And then started buying collections and doing stuff like that. Back then, Craigslist was still a thing, so that was kind of a place where we're kind of shopping things around and trying to buy collections off of. Even then, I was moving bulk and doing I was doing the small flat rate boxes, just shoving those full of cards, however many. I think it was like 400-ish cards that you could shove in one of those and shipping it for whatever it was. So always been doing bulk and kind of moving bulk and buying collections and doing that, and then kind of moved into that and I was doing that for a while and doing video games and stuff as well because that was right around when the retro gaming was popping, really really good. And got with my now former business partner Zach, and he was doing eBay video games out of his garage. So I was doing cards on eBay and a little bit of games on eBay too. So kind of merged and fusion danced our way into making a storefront. Started in a little office space and then moved into a what was it 700 square feet, then 230 square feet, or 2,300 square feet, and then 7,000 square feet is our new cut location, which is kind of like our home base is like what I like to call it. Pretty big size for even LGS now. And then we have a second location that we've opened up now, and that's almost close to 5 years, 4 to 5 years now. So actually, this month is 10 years as a physical like location for Cardinal Gaming. So that's kind of fun, kind of making a big deal about it and then having a good time with that. Getting all sentimental and weepy about it. So that's been fun. But yeah, what a ride and a good time it's been. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to watch everything as it's unfolded through your YouTube channel and stuff. So great inspiration for me when I first started making content online, and you actually helped propel my channel up a little bit by noticing me and saying something out loud to other people about it. So I appreciate that. So I know you don't just sell trading cards or just trading cards and video games. What kind of mix of product lines do you have in your stores, and how do you choose to pick one up or to let one go, or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we sell all kinds of nerdy things now, which I did not even think was on the radar when we originally started. We sell like D&D stuff. Of course, obviously, Japanese culture, manga, anime is super popular. So we have figures and actual manga itself, and plushies and Gundams and model kits are super popular. We sell a lot of those. Geez, what else? All kinds of great stuff. I mean, if it's nerdy and it's something that has a lot of crossover and overlap between TCGs, video games, and that kind of stuff, yeah, we'll give it a shot and see if people like it. We've seen some things run its course and kind of ebb and flow. So that's just what you kind of have to do when you own a brick and mortar and try to figure out what exactly your clientele are wanting, and what kind of, again, what kind of crossover is between all that stuff and what's hot and what's not. Even something like something that's like a flash in the pan, like Lou Boo Boos, for example. Yeah, we thought about it. It was an idea that we floated by. We were like, I'm okay with missing out on the beginning of it if it's not something that is going to stick around.
My daughter has one, and she hasn't mentioned it in 3 months, and I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, that's about what we thought would happen. Pops and stuff like that. Pops is something that we did not get into, but I know a lot of stores do. But yeah, all that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to pick and choose, and really, listen to your customers, and then also, something that you're passionate about as well. You don't want to kind of inorganically try to add something to the store that you don't know anything about. That's a bad idea. So it's definitely a combination of listening to the customers, what they want, and it's like, hey, you're going to carry this kind of stuff versus just like whatever is popular at the time, for sure.
I think about pop figurines a lot, but probably way more than I actually should. I remember when they first started to get really take off in a more mainstream kind of way. I was working at Barnes and Noble at the time. This would have been like 2016, 17, 18, something like that. I didn't know what they were, and like I came in as the nerdy guy, so I was already expected to know all the nerdy things that corporate was pushing down to the store. And it's like, I don't know what this is, and looked into it, and that was right around the time that like they tripled their space at Barnes and Noble for these, and also started selling the acrylic cases to store the unopened ones in for collectible purposes. And I'm like, wow, this feels a whole lot like the plastic clamshell things you put on the tags for Beanie Babies that was popular back when I was in middle school and a collector of things then, before I even really got into cards, right? So I was like, oh, this feels like Beanie Babies. This is a thing that's going to run its course. It's grown too fast. It just seemed like something that there was never going to be an unlimited market for it. I'm not here to dump on pop figures.
I mean, I am. I'll happily, like, man, what a terrible marketing strategy to, hey, let's make all these properties and then we're gonna make the same figure with a different outfit or different clothes and just keep pumping it out. Just keep going. We need 35 different versions of Batman. Yeah, we do. We do need that. That is something that we need. It's just really silly.
Someone will want that, but not 100,000 people will want that.
I would think so. I would hope so. But they're still kicking. They're still doing their thing. I think their markets here locally is down, but I think internationally they're actually growing. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen to Funko and those guys? But hey, just wasn't for me. Wasn't for me to sell, and I'm okay with giving up that revenue or market share.
Yeah, so getting a little back more on topic after that rabbit hole. So yeah, you sell, you got a couple of locations. You also sell online. You said eBay and TCG Player. How do you balance the inventory mix and the labor efforts and things like that between online versus in store?
It's not always easy. Let me tell you. I have 20 employees between the two stores, which sounds like a lot between the two, and it is a lot. But I gotta specialize, video games versus trading cards, because that's different skill sets and different knowledge bases for my guys that are out there on the floor, so I have to kind of balance that. I have people that are out there pulling cards for online orders, and we sell on direct with TCG Player, so that's a large chunk of some days. Sometime is pulling those orders and getting that stuff fulfilled and ready to go and ship off. So it's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of multitasking I'm asking for my employees to do. It's not easy. Like people think of retail just being like maybe slow or boring work, but it's really especially in a game store environment. It is not a hey, we're gonna do this and this is gonna be your job. You're just the shipper. You're just the or you're just the the order puller or something like that. It doesn't work that way. It can't work that way. We have to be so much more dynamic and dealing with customers and all those interactions.
The labor demand is constantly shifting, right? Yeah.
And what looks like a Wednesday versus a Friday versus a Sunday, it's all different. And it's going to be different week to week, even, depending on what releases come out and the cycles of release cycles and what's popular and what's not. If there's a big buy that comes in, that may take one of my employees the entire day to process, or maybe sometimes even longer. It kind of depends what it is.
Or huge new sets coming out, you got to have singles available, so everybody's got to be on deck to open boxes and stuff or whatever, right? So.
Yeah, it's extremely demanding. It's very, very hard. And my guys, they enjoy it. They enjoy the fast pace and they enjoy what they're working with. So obviously being passionate about it helps, and the knowledge base helps out a lot too, because helping customers efficiently and knowing what they want is huge. You're not going to plop a plumber in the middle of a car dealership lot and expect him to sell cars for you. That's just it's just not very skilled person, but not specialized in what that type of thing is. So that's the thing, is finding specialized people and people that love what they're doing and love the things that they're trying to sell, but then also very detail oriented, very organized, which is not always a strong point for a lot of people in this nerdy type of stuff. Our inventory is very complex. It's very organized, very lots of ins and outs. I mean, we're selling, you know, 5,000 cards a week, and then we have hopefully more cards than that going into the system. There's a lot going on, so there's a lot can go wrong, and it does go wrong. But limiting those types of mistakes is the goal, and it takes a very specialized person to do that.
Yeah, it just definitely takes someone who can see the whole big picture for sure, and move the parts around, the operating parts, not just the people, but the processes and all that. Not many people really think of a retail store in this way, but it feels very, at least within our industry with the complex level of inventory that we have to manage, it feels a whole lot like a manufacturing facility or something like that. I was really inspired by reading The Toyota Way a few years ago about how Toyota does its manufacturing processes for its cars and really, really, really closely ties everything that it does to the actual demand from the market, and doesn't do anything that doesn't already have demand that's ready to fulfill. Like, they don't have 5,000 sets of brake pads on hand at the factory to put on cars if they can't make 5,000 cars that day. And being able to very carefully manage like shifting tasks or shifting priorities or moving with the demands of the next step further upstream in the process, right? So, or downstream in the process, ultimately to the shop where they're selling the finished cars, right? So
Yeah, you got to look at, like, this is a fairly young industry, I would say, and there's a lot of innovation coming about. I mean, obviously, we're getting automated and have sisters coming through, and those are becoming more and more cost efficient, and makes sense for more people to have them. But yeah, so many of these little things, little squares that we have to organize and try to keep and find a home for. How do we organize that? How do we do it efficiently? Labor costs are up. Automation is up as well, though. So how do you balance those two things? How do you make people and get the most use out of them? How do you limit how many times you touch a card? How do you kind of get the workflow to being most efficient? How do you not be redundant and not do things over and over and over? And it takes some trial and error, especially as you scale and grow. There's a lot of that. Like we use QuickList to buy and store everything we buy goes through QuickList for TC Player. If people don't know what QuickList is, it's basically like you have like a desktop like document scanner that you put a card underneath. It scans the card for you, and then you're able to condition it and put that kind of information into that. And then when you upload that list of cards that you just put in, it goes into TCG Player automatically. You can push those things and put those into inventory all through that interface there, and it gives you a workflow to kind of do things to where it's organized. I can keep track of it. I know which employee did which buy, and there's a process that goes along with it. It's not just everybody's just trying to do things all at the same time. Where there has to be rules and workflows in place. Like, okay, you don't push things to live until they go and be put away into the boxes or in the cases. That's something that we have to find out and figure it out the hard way when you have all these buys stacked up and they're already pushed into live and you're trying to look for these cards and they're not where they're supposed to be. They're in these buy trays and these other places. If you condition a card when you go to buy it and you throw it in a box to be processed later, well, now you have to take those cards back out of that box and condition them again and count them up again. It's, you think about the workflow and like how much extra steps you're having to do or unnecessary work that you have to do. Getting that refined and kind of building that infrastructure is really the name of the game right now. Is as we try to not just race at the bottom, but all these other platforms that we can list on. If we can scan cards in versus doing it all by hand. Which is better. Figure out which prices and pricing is better. If you sell on multiple platforms, what cards go on TCG Player versus eBay versus Manipool, if you use those things. All of these things are stuff that we're constantly trying to figure out. I'm going through and I'm looking at tcgtracking.com and I'm trying to figure out that and how I can integrate that into my business.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'll write that down. TCG tracking.
Yeah, it's a way that they use to use tracked envelopes, and they also have like workflow things like that. I'm looking at a SortSwift. SortSwift has like a suite of all types of things, and Micah, that is the owner and operator of that. He owns LGS himself, so he's knows what needs to happen and very knowledgeable about workflow and all that type of stuff. And these companies are filling in the gaps where TCG Player seems to be lagging behind, and these other companies like eBay and all the other companies are lagging behind on this stuff. Where I need that innovation right now.
Definitely wanted to deep dive into that a little bit. It seems like there's a big proliferation in the last 6 months of different tools that are coming out, listing software, inventory management tools. There seems to be a big market response to the fact that there isn't really any type of standard operating procedures out there for our businesses. And talking to a lot of businesses in the last 6 months and talking with people who do talk to a lot, it feels very much like you said, it's a young industry, right? And there's a whole lot of people coming into it with ideas that are maybe 20, 40, 60 years old. It's very similar to like running a general store in the Wild West almost, right? The way a lot of these smaller stores run, and the bigger places are either not producing content about how to run businesses, or they're really tightly controlling how their information gets out. Everybody is seeing the same problems and trying to come up with their own solutions individually, and some of them are successfully coming up with solutions and trying to offer them out to other people. And so there's this big proliferation of similar but not identical tools. And I was just wondering what you think about that environment where that's all happening. You feel like it's a good, healthy competition where it's going to end up settling down in a year or two, where everybody agrees what the best 2 or 3 type of things are, or is it going to be, you feel like it's going to continue to be a whole lot of different things and everyone can pick and choose what works best for them? Or where do you see that going? Or if you had a crystal ball, what do you think might turn out from that?
Yeah, this could be half an hour of me talking straight, so just hold on and stop me along the way if you want me to.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure I'll have questions.
Yeah, through booms, we see innovation because it's like a gold rush, right? Like a lot of people during the gold rush found all these new innovative ways to get gold out of the ground and sift that dirt as fast as possible to get the gold out, right? Like where they were when they started in the gold rush versus after the gold rush, it was, big corporations came in. They were buying up these plots of land. They were doing all this stuff. I'm from California, so that's why I know so much about the gold rush. But anyways, like the like these types of booms and innovation, like it spurs innovation because the faster you go, the more money you can make in a boom, right? So right now is the like the golden age of all these companies, these tech startups, and people trying to build out these suites of tools to help people list these cards. It's a very booming industry because there's so many of us wanting to move as fast as possible, buying, selling, and doing that flipping just as quick as we can because the faster we move in a boom, the more you're able to sell because liquidity is at its peak. So all these companies that are coming in and trying to help sellers and buyers even come in and kind of keep things moving and driving technology and ways of listing and all that automation and AI and all that stuff that's we can use now. All that stuff is not going to stop, and it's going to catapult the industry into a way better place technology wise. And it's no secret that I work very, very close with TCG Player. I do a lot of beta testing for them. I do a lot of consulting with them, and they ask me a lot of like, oh, hey Mason, how do you do things in store? What's your workflow like? How can we build something to help you out do X Y Z? A lot of the things that they come up with, it's all great ideas, but already exists, unfortunately. And I tell them, I'm like, look, you're kind of late in the game here when you're trying to figure out this stuff when this problem's already been solved. And you just need to go out there and look at what already exists and or get out of the way and let the companies that have already figured this out integrate in your platform and just be able to communicate with your systems. So you don't have to spend the money anymore. You're still capturing all that revenue and all the sales by the added products being and workflow being existing on your platform. Oh, why stand in the way of progress?
Yeah, why does TCG Player need to spend money to put out a service to capture? I'm just gonna pick on the sifter for now. Like there are sifters and tools like that that exist, and they're doing this big thing where they're putting out their sifter to speed things up, which they didn't really need to do. They could have, just let the third parties who are already making the tools do that and just, not spend that money and spend it instead on making the thing they do better rather than step into something else, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sifter is probably one of their better things they come out with in a long, long time. But absolutely, why are we using a repricing tool from 10 years ago that is not intelligent, does not work with the best way to interact with your platform? And why are we limited to so few rules? Like, how can we have a dynamic way of pricing on your own platform? Why do we have to go somewhere else? Or even worse, build our own solutions?
And even then, too, like, why don't we have the ability to make more overarching rules too, right? Like, you can't make a rule that touches all your inventory. You have to make a separate rule for each product line, like Magic versus Pokemon versus Digimon or whatever, right? It's both too complicated and too simple. The mass price tool, if you guys are not aware of what we're talking about, it's the repricing tool. It's built into TCG Player Pro that you get access to with the Pro subscription, and it's better than not repricing at all. I can say that. I don't currently use it because I'd rather just reprice. I don't do a complicated repricing thing. I literally just download my whole inventory every morning and then average the value of the low price and the market price. And if that's below my floor, I set it to my floor. And if it's not, I set it to that average. And that's all I deal with. And that kind of helps me track the ups and downs without being part of the race to the bottom or getting too high and getting stuck too high on, if there's a buyout that happens or something, right?
You do that every morning?
Yeah, just once a day. It takes 30 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. Yeah.
It's just part of my startup routine when I get started. I do that and I check to see if I have eBay listings that need to be ended and relisted, and then I print out all my shipping. It's just part of a routine that I've had to build for myself because the mass price tool doesn't do as good a job of that as just doing that for 30 seconds every morning does.
That's the situation we're in, where we have these companies that can do it, want to do it, have already built it to do it. They don't have access. They're being barred from interacting with TCG players in the back end. And then we have TCG player who's trying to do it, but as a big company, they can't do it as fast and as efficiently as all these other companies that already can and are already built all this stuff. So you have these two things kind of at odds when really just let them do it and save yourself some money and move on to something else that is actually improving the platform as opposed to something like a suite or a tool that there's not just one version, but there's multiple versions. Like you can pick and choose which one you want to use, and then they don't have to worry about it. It's already the answer solved. If they want to support or choose ones that say, hey, this is what we recommend or whatever. All that stuff is stuff that they do not need to be spending time on at this point. If they want to integrate it or heck, buy the company out and allow them to work for you or whatever you got to work out a deal wise to get that going. But it just does not seem like it's a great use of their time internally to figure out, hey, this is how I need to add tracking to plain white envelopes. If they can't do it or it's not easily done by their own, it just seems like it's, what are we doing here?
They should be able to come up with a half janky but still functional system that would be better than just not doing it at all.
I'll take half janky. I'll take half jank. I'm okay with half jank. My life is half jank. I use half jank because it's a solution. It's not the best solution, but it works, right? Baby steps. Those are baby steps of like solving the issues, and it's better than nothing. Name one innovation that TCG Player has put out in the past 2 years that has actually impacted the way that you do sales and has made a seller's life easier.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Exactly. That's my point. When I know, let me tell you, as somebody that is their biggest advocate, I'm also their biggest critic, and I do not think that they are moving fast enough or prioritizing the stuff fast enough to actually make the platform actually innovative and actually something that is progressing. There's somebody that put out a post. God bless those people in the Facebook TCG Player Pro seller group, but you know,
I was in that group for about 5 minutes, and I had to bounce out. It was too negative.
it tells you the seller frustration that's out there, and again, there's all these platforms. They have a way of doing it. Just let them do it. If you're not going to come up with a solution, or if you're telling me that it's in the pipeline, but maybe in 2028, 2027, somewhere in that range, like, is that worth all the millions of dollars you're investing at this point?
And how long am I going to be solvent to reap the benefits of that? Right? Like a wise man once said, "Zombies coming up the heck right now. Press A." That's where we're at on a lot of these things, right? So it's we need help now, not eventual help. Maybe eventually that might work for us. I had a thought that I was going to lead into, and I don't remember what it was now.
It's fine. I can keep going. I have unlimited ammo over here. My clip is still full. So
Yeah, I have a question that can lead into more of it. So, like, I usually ask this later in the interview, but it seems like a good time right now. What tools don't currently exist, or don't currently exist in a form that works for you that you wish did? What would be like a top 3 for you right now of tools that
oh my goodness,
you really need?
just three. You just wanted to choose just three?
Well, I mean, if you've got 20, then I'm sure we can go with it. So,
Okay. At the top of the list is integrated shipping. The fact that we don't have tracked envelopes or integrated shipping of any kind, and I have to use some sort of third-party software or stamps to send out a package when Whatnot, eBay, Mercari, all these other places have ways for you to ship within their platform themselves.
you can pay for the out of the proceeds of the sale, so you're not like having to do cash flow calculations for payments you're going to get in a couple of weeks and stuff like that.
At this point, it's insulting. It's insulting to us as a platform where we are supposed to ship cards to customers that they do not assist us in shipping cards to customers.
I've heard even recently that eBay is moving soon, like into you don't pay for labels; they hand you a label, right? And they handle the payment for the shipping and the receipt of the payment for the shipping on their end, and you, the seller, don't even have to deal with it anymore. Like Mercari and Poshmark and whatnot do, right?
Good, good. That's how it should be. That pinch point and that type of workflow, where I have to leave your platform. I have to leave your platform to go to another platform to ship something and then go back to your platform to upload that information. Silly, 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 silly. And this is the leading TCG marketplace in the world, and they do not have that integration. It's a joke. It's laughable. It's insulting that it doesn't exist. That's a big number one. Number two, that there is not, again, some way to intelligently price your inventory, not just have a rolling like updating pricing, but to have a global way of saying, hey, I want every magic rare on the website to have a floor of $1. And I want every card, whether I have it in stock or not, I want it to be ready to go when I add inventory at $1. I do not want to have to do that on my own every time I add a card. That's silly. The fact that you cannot set that is really, really dumb. The fact that you cannot manipulate your shipping. If you don't have integrated shipping, at least give us the option to set up, hey, if it's 1 to 3 cards, it can go plain white envelope. If it's 3 to 8, I can do it, but it's a machinable stamped envelope. If it's more than 8, I'm going to put it in a tracked envelope, a padded mailer, and allow us to charge separately that way and collect the actual fees that we need to in order to make this make sense.
Or else make it do that on its own. That's getting back into integrated shipping, but yeah.
It's so simple. It's like it's in the back end of like, hey, you have 8 cards in your cart. Okay, this is how much you're paying for shipping. That's it. That's all it is. And the fact that that is not a thing, if you won't give us integrated shipping, at least allow us to appropriately charge for shipping. It's really, really dumb, because what happens is that I bake the shipping into my card prices, and everybody does this across all the platform, right? Either they come along and say, look, dummies, charge $1.50 shipping because that's how much it costs to ship a card. You cannot sell a card on the platform for 20 cents anymore. No, it has to have a floor of X amount because that's what it costs to ship. And sellers are too dumb to like build that price into that pricing information. And their system's too dumb to like automate it to make like, hey, if you're buying 4 of these at 20 cents, okay, then it's only going to be this amount of shipping if you want. No, they're too dumb, and the system's too dumb to do that. So they have to go back, and now we have to roll into our pricing algorithms shipping costs, either at the floor or beyond the floor. It's past that point for us to be able to actually be compensated appropriately for somebody to go along and ship a single card to somebody. The fact that I have to do that on my own doesn't make any sense, because I'm not setting the price at that point. I'm setting the price of the card, the labor, the shipping materials. I'm factoring all that stuff when I go to sit down and price a single card in my inventory. That's silly. That's a silly way of doing it. It's really, really dumb. And it takes a whole lot of pricing issues and putting it in the forefront that a buyer has to see, as opposed to being an afterthought on the back end when you go to check out and select your shipping that way. Really, really dumb. Like it's a complete ass backwards way of doing something.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's something to be said about like a difference between eBay and TCG Player is what value for a card looks like. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was watching another video. I think it's Phantom Cards or something like that, and he was talking. He's recently moved away from TCG Player and towards eBay, because if he sets his cards at $1.99 free shipping and people buy 5 of them, it's a $10 order, versus if he sets, cards at what he would normally make in the same profit value on TCG Player for an individual card order. If those profit margins would be identical on an individual card order with the shipping fee that TCG Player builds in and stuff, right? But someone comes in and buys 5 of those, it's a $5 order instead of a $10 order. If you have a broad inventory like we do, this type of, going wide type inventory, instead of only focusing on expensive cards where it's going to not matter as much, then, that people are going to buy a lot of cards on orders. Of shipping an order before we started this interview, it's got like 75 cards in it. So that kind of thing really adds up and changes the way the value of those cards matters. So
absolutely. Not only is it affecting how you buy and sell, it's affecting how the buyer is buying, because they see and they can take advantage of the situation. It's manipulating the card prices that are shown on the website for the market price, because that's all built in to every single card. But that's not what people are actually paying for it, because they're having to factor in the shipping cost for that as well. So it's manipulating their own prices on their own website because they don't want to be intelligent about how they price things and how they price and factor shipping. They figured it out with Direct very recently, where they charge 30 cents a card or whatever it, or a flat fee of whatever it is for them to be able to do it. Why can I do that with my same inventory? Why can I do that with my own sales? Doesn't make any sense. Shall we continue?
Yeah, let's go.
The fact that I cannot look at a single card and see when that card was added to my inventory and when it was taken out or sold or changed is the most baseline information that I need from an inventory management software. And it is not available easily via TCG Player. Doesn't make any sense why I cannot go into the back end of a single card and it's like, oh, we added the LP1 in here. It's sold on direct. It's sold on an order.
At this price with this shipping and this fee, and we made this much profit on it, and the profit that we made on this one is higher than the one we sold 2 months ago, and none of that information is available through TCG Player or eBay for that matter. There's no marketplace that I know of provides that information. So on an individual store level, so that's something that I have been trying to build for myself and make sense for myself in spreadsheets and stuff. So I definitely feel the pain on that.
There's tons of great information on the front end of the website that I use very, very frequently. Average daily sold, all that types of information that I need to make smart decisions about how I sell and price cards. And it's not there on the back end. Why do I have to go to the front end to see the frequency and the average sale price of a card? It's silly. I should be able to see that information and see those prices adjustments in the back end before the buyer sees it. Why that is important for me to see when things happen, I need accountability to track down discrepancies so that they don't happen anymore. If it's happening when I upload a CSV, that's a major problem that I need to go back and be able to fix. If it's an employee that is making a mistake because I have 10 people touching these cards at any given time, I need to be able to know when it happens so I can tell that employee or track down that employee and tell them, hey, stop doing this. You're messing things up. If it's happening when I price things, if it's happening in the back end of a TCG Player when they have a refund or something like that, maybe there's an order that's pending that's been pending for 7 days and I don't know what the status of this card is, I have no idea. So that when I run discrepancies and go to do audits, how these cards came to be and how they came to be in my box but not in my inventory, I have no way of knowing. I have no way of knowing if they were ever put in that system. And that's the most difficult thing. To go along with that there is no way for me to audit my inventory easily is also what a huge mistake and huge, crazy thing. We have inventories that some people have millions of cards in their inventory. That there's no easy way for me to go through and see and verify what I have on hand versus what's on the website at any given time and have to be live and updating and being able to track stuff down in real time. I know that Chase, when you go through that stuff and you were running into issues that because you have to go back and save something if an item sells or is returned or whatever the situation is, then you save over the top of it.
You have to hide your entire inventory while you're fixing stuff, or you run the risk of something getting messed up. And if I need to audit what Battle for Zendikar cards I have, I don't need to hide all of my Flesh and Blood inventory to do that. Like, that's not something that should have to happen, but with the system as it exists, it does, right?
That we can't freeze a certain set or something like that, or at least have a way of actively having it update in real time, is silly. I'll tell you that. When I have 5,000 Bloomborough cards in the system and I'm trying to audit these things, how can I do that effectively? There's no way to do it. What I have to do currently is I have to have a discrepancy box, throw all these discrepancies into a box based on this is over, this is under, this is a condition discrepancy because sometimes that happens. That's on us. But all these different things I have to keep these slots in, and then I have to hold them for 7 days or whatever until a standard RI pops for me to know whether or not it's actually on RI. Instead of having to do that one by one myself, I'm just going to wait for it to roll. So it's taking me a week to go through a single set box of a single condition that I have to wait. What is going on? How can I not do this more effectively? And I've tried, and I've asked them, and they have no answer of like how better to do it than what I'm doing currently, and that is that it takes a week for me to do as any sort of audit on any sort of segment of my inventory, which is just really dumb. There's so much of stuff that again there's answers for that exists elsewhere. It is not in TCG Player's backend itself.
Yeah, but I mean, even if they exist elsewhere, that's I mean, if you have something that works that way, then that helps, right? It seems like this fits a theme that there just really aren't any type of standard operating procedures across many different businesses, and everyone is running into the same problems of a lack of a robust tool from TCG Player or eBay or whatever market you're selling on, and needing to come up with your own solution, right? And like a lot of these things that I feel like should happen, I have seen work in like my past life is in retail management, right? Like my basic inventory system is very much based on the backroom inventory, like the backstock inventory system that I used daily as an inventory manager at AutoZone, right? Where I don't need to know, I don't have to set up the locations or displays for all these different boxes of oil or these different, tools that go on that or whatever, right? It just has to be location recorded and stuff like that, so I can go find it again later. And that's just something I've had to come up with to adapt, my experience from 15 years ago onto this business, because there's not a better way to do it currently that exists within the marketplace of ideas within this industry. I know there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses and platforms reaching out to in different ways to try and get closer to that, and that makes it hard too because the market's so fragmented. So we've gone from having one eBay listing tool to 3 or 4 in the last 6 months. I guess at least 4 that I can think of. Probably more like 6 or 7, because there's just some that existed but I don't use, like Chronozio and stuff like that are all reaching out in different ways to try and approximate like inventory management on top of just being a listing tool, and trying to be available to list on multiple different marketplaces and not just eBay and things like that. And they're all doing it in different ways, and if you're using one tool for this and a different tool for that, those inventory management tools on each one aren't talking to each other, so you can't really utilize them outside of the other existing tools. It's a whole big mess. I look forward to some type of consolidation, at least in ideas, or trying to have something that is a single source of truth for inventory that can then talk out to all your different things, that kind of thing. That's what I'm hoping happens in the next year or so, even if I have to build it myself.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like this is not anything new. This is not something that we should have to be still struggling with at this point. I equate TCG Player to like even beyond what eBay is, like the Amazon of TCG platforms. They're the best. They've already won. There's nobody that's gonna even come close to them ever. Not for a very long time. Uh, what are you afraid of? Like, what are you afraid of?
Just very defensive. They're putting up big moats and bastion walls and stuff. They're very worried about losing their bag.
The only way that they're gonna lose is that they don't continue to innovate and they don't put all these tools in that people are been asking for at this point for years. That's what's taking so long. And the most frustrating thing is because I work with them, they're all in the works. Unfortunately, they're all in the works at the same time. They don't move on or do something, finish it up, and then move on. And that's the most frustrating thing. Is like I've seen, I've seen great things. I've seen awesome tools and huge improvements of ways that would fundamentally change how I do business on their platform, and it just doesn't ever release. And it's just like, what happened? Where did this go? And it's just really, really frustrating. What I don't know what kind of red tape or back end stuff that they have to go through, but yeah, it's just this is stuff that we need now, and things that you look at other platforms and you're just like, wow, that's really neat. That's really cool. I wish we could do that. And it's just a big just yarn ball of mess that for whatever reason, despite all their efforts, is actually still winning and controlling the market share like they are, which is you know, if this situation that they're currently in and this current climate and they're still crushing it, growing, doing great things, lowering fees instead of increasing fees, like which is, you'd never see that from any other sort of platform. Like, okay, you guys are doing such a great job. Like, where are all these tools and innovations for sellers to grow further and like capitalize on this stuff that you're working so hard for and kind of want to capture all these customers, and you've already captured all these customers, but you make it so difficult for them to find things. Go onto the platform on their front end website and go to Secrets of Strixhaven. Click their little guys and go through and say, "Hey, I want to shop for booster boxes." You click on booster boxes. There's no booster boxes listed in the booster boxes section. It's the most insane thing. I've talked to 3 different departments about it, and they all say, "Oh, that's an easy fix." It has not been fixed since its release. And Strixhaven has been out for how many months now? It's just little things like that chips away at the integrity and experience from buyers and sellers at this point, because that's missed revenue. Somebody that is using the things that you've created and it doesn't work right. It doesn't work properly. Why is it when I go to every listing for a sealed product, I have to sift through 20 pages that are at the top of sleeves and empty boxes and all these other things like ETB components before I get to an actual seller? And despite it all, they're still crushing it and doing, having record years and record sales. It's impressive.
What do you think the ultimate vulnerability is of a market like TCG Player if they don't innovate? How likely do you think it is that someone will come along and actually pull away significant market share from them? Especially now that they're backed up by eBay.
That's the thing. Like, they're losing. Their biggest competitor is eBay. People going to eBay and selling on eBay is like the biggest competitor, which I guess at the parent level is okay because they're getting the fees regardless. But why did eBay buy this platform? Just to have it have a worse experience, not improve the experience at all, and have them just go to eBay anyway. It's just
eBay's doing their own big moat things too. It feels like.
right. So what's the long-term strategy? Why do we have to pick the best of 2 evils instead of just having them homogenize with each other and be a great experience together? It doesn't make any sense. It's really, really silly. eBay's owned them for what? 4 years? 3 or 4 years? Maybe 5? I don't remember. But what innovations have happened on either side? I wonder what's happening. And I talked to the CEO. I've met him in person many, many times from CC Player. Very smart guy, very likable guy, very compassionate, very caring. Genuinely listens, genuinely takes feedback, and wants feedback. But where's the output? Where's the outcome to any of this stuff? Why have me talk to you if you're not going to do anything or listen to it? It's frustrating.
It's got to be better than them not seeking any information at all. Hopefully, but maybe eventually something comes out of it. But nothing's been coming out of it lately. So
yeah. So I mean, it's just like, am I just getting strung along here, and they're just telling me what I want to hear, and in hopes that I am actually doing something, or am I, will I ever actually see anything come out of it? It's really, I don't know at this point. Why am I spending all this effort and trying to help you guys if it's not helping? If it's not genuinely gonna have something come about from it.
Well, I mean that covers a full hour of talking about stuff.
Oh, geez, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, huh? Oh, geez, we're
But no, it's okay. I have one more question, real quick. Just more about running, an brick and mortar store than just selling online. I know we can get in the weeds talking about online stores, and this is a lot about the point of this is a lot more about me trying to understand more about brick and mortar LGSs because I've never run one. I've worked in many other brick and mortar locations, but not in the hobby business. So the difference between running a main difference between running an online store versus a brick and mortar store is you have like the experience of the customer is wildly different, right? You know, someone buying from your eBay store or buying from your TCG Player store is not really getting the same type of curated and controlled experience that someone who walks in your front door and sees the stuff you have there, merchandised and all that kind of thing, ready to go. And you know, they're not going to, you know, an online customer isn't necessarily going to participate in an event at your store or things like that. So, how important do you feel like that, you know, controlling that experience in the store is for getting someone to come back and become a recurring customer? And do you feel like that is a powerful effect over, you know, a online customer who may spend the same amount in the first transaction, right? Does that increase, you feel like, the lifetime value of that customer versus the lifetime value of an online customer?
Yeah, I mean, that is the hugest strength of having a brick and mortar versus just selling online. Um, in selling online, there's a lot of, hey, I want the cheapest thing. I don't care who it's from. I don't care what their feedback is. I don't care that they give and draw a little heart emoji every order and say thank you and that type of stuff. I don't care. I want the cheapest card possible. Uh, I feel like that is probably the idea behind most buyers out there on TCG Player, on eBay, on all these other platforms. The branding and the brand awareness is so it's there. People do like to look for names like, oh, I know that store. I know, or I've heard of these guys before. But ultimately, what it does come down to is who's the best price, who has the best price, and who can get it to me the cheapest, fastest. And sure, if I can see that they're a reliable company, sure, that might push the needle one way direction or the other. But the advantages I have on in-person customers is that the people that walk into my store, they want to have the interactions. Um, it's so funny because half of my time now, you know, the store's established, the stores are doing fine. You know, the employees are doing what they do. It's the engine is running, and my job now is how do I get people in the store? How do I figure out events and build these communities and get them to come back? That is the current stage that we're in is trying to grow and get bigger and get local customers more involved because the type of people that shop from my store are generally introverted, you know, uh, more shy, more quiet. They don't really necessarily even want to socialize. But the people that do come to my store, that's why you leave your house and go to a store to talk to somebody. You know, I can go and buy, again, to use a car analogy, I can go on Carvana, I can go shop a car. If I know exactly what I want, bing, bang, boom, I'm good, right? I don't really have to worry about interacting or doing test drives or anything like that. I've done the research. I already know what I want. These days, a lot of the people that are walking into my store, they're unfamiliar with products. They want to interact and kind of weigh their options and see what's out there, get their hands on it in person. And frankly, they want to nerd out a little bit. They want to talk to somebody that has the same interests as them and can make recommendations and talk about the newest releases and stuff like that. That's what they want. That's what they're seeking out. That's why they drove across town to come to my store is for that type of interactions. So it's an interesting balance of people that are genuinely not social and trying to get them to be social. But then if they're there, that's why they're there. So we have to take care of them and kind of cater to that need. Because if they knew exactly what they wanted, or they didn't want to participate, or they didn't want to come hang out and have a good time, they would just stay home and shop online and have it delivered to their door. Right. So that's the interesting complexity of social interaction and building a community for people that are generally not interested in community. Um, so there's different ways that we can do that and different ways that we go about that. And that's where having a brick and mortar excels because if I have somebody have a great experience in my store, I would hope that that not only encourages them to come back, but I have gained some sort of status in their mind as either trustworthy or knowledgeable or a fun place or whatever parameters they want to put on it. If they have a great experience, they're more likely to come back, of course, right? And I think the idea is, what do they say? Like three times. You got to have somebody come back 3 times, and if you have them come back 3 times, more than likely they're going to be there for life. So, or so long as they're interacting with whatever the product is, that they will pick your store.
I've heard that in like the restaurant industry and stuff like that. Like they make try and guarantee that you come back 3 times. You get in with a free meal the first time, a free dessert the second time, and half price chicken dinner on the third time. And if they've had a good experience those 3 times, they're not going to stop coming back as long as they're close by, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So, and not only that is the good experiences, but it builds a routine. The same people that come to my store for every Friday Night Magic, the more people I can have that, I build a base. And as long as I have a base to build on of players or people that are interested, as long as they're good for the community and the store, if I have the base, those people that are flaky or come over maybe once a month or every once in a while or whenever they can, those types of people will always have a good time. But I have to take care of this core group of people to make sure that they're showing up every week. Starting a community is the hardest part for any of these, like all these new TCGs are coming out. And trying to get a core group of people, I call them the core four. If you have 4 people that are going to come out and give your store a shot and play in your store, you have to have those guys show up every week. So you have to take really good care of them and say, hey guys, I appreciate you coming out. There's only 2 of you this week, but hey, if you come out next week, here's some extra packs. Come out next week. We'll try it again, and I'll advertise and make sure that I'm trying to get people up here for you. That's all they want to hear, and kind of like to build that. And then once I have those people here, it's easy because at that point I have these people. We're always going to fire that event, and we're going to keep it pushing every single week, hopefully, and grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Hopefully, that's the idea. I have to keep them there though until they start dropping off, and then that's how communities die when there's not that core anymore. So that's it's complex. It's really, really like I have to like stoop down and like talk to them like, hey guys, you're really, really important to me. I really need you. I really need you here and to keep trying because if you don't keep trying, we'll never have this game ever succeed. So that's why it's super important that you guys keep coming. So thank you. I appreciate you. We're gonna try again next week, right? So that's I need that, and I need that type of people. And people that have bad experiences and you can't do that online. You can't have that type of stuff online. You can't build audiences like that with people on TCG Player. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Um, you can do YouTube and Instagram, all these other online platforms. Obviously, Chase, you do a great job, and you have people I'm sure that buy from you all the time. Uh, but for most people, it's very, very difficult because you don't have that kind of like awareness. You don't have that brand awareness. You don't have all the time that you've been putting in trying to cultivate those types of buyers.
Yeah, I was curious. You do YouTube obviously too, and you do an excellent job at it. In talking mostly out to other sellers like me. Do you also do content that's more focused on your local community to try and say you've got a Gundam TCG core that's trying to build, but you need more people to grow that event? Do you do something that's more targeted at a local audience? Obviously, not living in Louisville myself, I haven't seen that kind of content from you, but I was curious if that's something that you put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, different platforms are different, kind of reach different audiences. Obviously, YouTube, it's worldwide, right? So there's people that probably live internationally that I can't. They'll never be customers of mine, but they like watching the stuff, right? So a lot of the time, we're using Facebook for that type of stuff. We're using Instagram, that type of stuff that it kind of gets and reaches more local people. Um, and basically, I think the idea. This is again, I'm not very good at social media. I'm really not, but whatever the platforms people interact with the most, or most commonly are used to like fill time whenever they have like a free moment of just like downtime. That's where you're gonna get like the best like instant action. So it's like coming to a store, coming out to an event. So people that scroll Instagram, scroll Facebook, TikTok would probably be great too, just for the sake of targeting local people for stuff like that. I just don't do it. It's just very time intensive. But Facebook and things, I can at least do that and get that stuff out. Discord is amazing for local people to get local people come out. I can put a post out in our Discord right now, And if I say, hey, 5 people show up right now, I have free collector packs, and I'll get 5 people there probably in the next hour. Very, very easy. It would not be hard. So the things that people have the most interactions with on a daily basis, or however often, is where you want to hit the local people mostly, and then put some more effort into like long form or something like that, for something that maybe people only use on the weekends or something like that, to kind of like grow awareness, but also not really expect a huge return on. People on Facebook aren't buying sleeves from me, for example. Very, very, very unusual for me to get a sleeved order that came from YouTube. Does happen, but it's just not a very common thing. But you see a lot of big ticket items like that, and big stuff like new releases, pre-ordering, stuff like that happens a lot from YouTube. So things that are not super pressing are like small stuff. I guess the concept of that is like, going grocery shopping is like an event, right? You go grocery shopping as like maybe a day of the week or something like that. But if you need something right that second, you're going down to the corner store, right? Or you go down to the gas station or convenience, Walgreens, CVS, something like that, that's super close to you, because you don't want to go grocery shopping. That's a whole ordeal. That's a whole thing. I could be there for hours.
And I might walk out with just 4 times as much spent as I actually intended to walk in and get.
Right. So that's like the concept of like, hey, little incentives for people that are closest to you to interact with you the most. And that's kind of the concept of advertising or targeting local people. And that's kind of the strategy that I've been trying to use and try to follow for that type of stuff. So different audiences at different places, different type of content.
I love that in the trenches, fist to fist type tactical stuff. For that kind.
It's hard. It's hard to get these nerds to get out of their houses. It really is. It takes a lot. And sometimes it's can be diminishing returns, but it's important.
It's a whole extra skill above and beyond what you're already having to do, that is changing all the time as well too. So,
and again, I'm not good at this. I love ordering. I love doing scheduling events out. I love doing pre-releases and coming up with numbers and all that type of stuff. That's what I like to do. That's the fun stuff for me. Of course, I love talking to customers and interacting with those guys as well. That's why I do it. I wouldn't be here if I just wanted to order stuff. That's all fun too. But yeah, social media, marketing, all that type of stuff is generally not what any game store is really successful at. And the ones that are successful, that's the guys that you see the most of on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, because they have effort and they're putting the effort out. It's not for nothing. It's a huge struggle to build that and get that going. But once they do, it obviously does extremely well, and it's effective, super effective on a hobby type environment and a buyer.
I think that's all I got for you today. I'm sure we'll have another conversation, here in a few weeks, and
I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd love to as well. I always like talking with you, Mason. You always have a huge amount of insight and awareness of really what's going on right now in the industry. So it's always a pleasure being able to pick your brain about that kind of stuff. Thanks so much for being on. Thanks for you guys for watching or listening, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Make sure you follow.
Sorry for the rants,
like
but
that's that. I think they're here for the rants, Mason. It's all right.
Okay, that's what it's there for. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks so much, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.
All right, thanks, y'all. Bye.